terror of Islam is embedded within the teaching of Islam.
The spirit of hatred and killing and slaughter is the spirit of Islam as it is written in the Qur'an.
Now I have, in one hand, I have the Qur'an, in the other hand, I have the AK-47 machine gun. I can change the world.
Islam has a plan to take over the world. They believe very strongly that they are going to create a worldwide Ummah, or nation of Islam.
Plainly, the Muslims have a missionary agenda, and governments, Muslim governments like Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, are funding the evangelization of the West through videos, through booklets, through leaflets, and through many other programs.
We're seeing Islamic societies seeking to impose a 7th century Arab worldview on everybody else.
While they all know life is better in the West, they want to destroy the West. Islam is a missionary religion, and just as Christianity has a goal for world evangelism, and just as we have the Great Commission, want to make disciples, teach obedience of all nations to all things that the Lord has commanded, so Islam has its Dawah. It has its missionary agenda. It has its focus to want to win the Western nations over to Islam. And in fact, the Muslims are quite confident of the fact that one day they will succeed in doing this.
The goal of Islam is to impose their 7th century cultural values on all other cultures and societies around the world.
Dawah and jihad of martyrism comes hand in hand. One will lead to the encouraging and increasing of Islam. The other one will put the fear and intimidation and destruction.
Jihad could be regarded as a violation of the human rights of other religions and other societies. But under Islam, it's almost like we're doing them a favor by making them Muslims, because they are Muslims and they just don't know it.
They have a worldwide strategy with Dawah to use the softer approach of Dawah, whereas jihad is war and conflict, Dawah is peace, and they're saying Islam is a peaceful religion.
I grew up rarely hearing anything about peace. It wasn't a subject that we cared about. We were never taught peace as a value.
Dawah it's a doctrine, and it's a Sharia in a way that the Muslim must have that to the whole earth, because the teaching of Islam says that one day there will be nothing left, that's from the Quran, except Islam.
You become a Muslim, you become a Middle Easterner. You wear their clothes, you wear their beards, if they're beards, you do exactly what they do. You learn Arabic, because Arabic is the language that they said is of God.
Jihad is my right to convert others.
They have a large number of missionaries working in the United States and in the Western world today.
I was a very devoted Muslim. I took it very serious. I mean, I literally brought others to Islam. I brought converts to Islam. That's how devoted I really became.
When the 9/11 took place, they opened up their mosque and they said, "Come in, we want to talk to you." And they were trying to win individual converts. They were trying to win the neighborhoods so that they would be more open to Islam at the same time that they would also become Muslims.
I was encouraged to have a cross-cultural group in my home, where what I did is I had other American women who were Christian or Muslim, didn't matter. We would meet at my home once a month and talk about our different issues. So that was my focus, and that's what I did for our community.
They are going through the whole country now, and they have people that have been trained to go in and to teach.
And I even had Qur'an studies in my home on Fridays, or at least once a week, to introduce my neighbors and friends and the other women that were married to the Muslim men that had not come over into Islam, to teach them.
Within 6 months after 9/11, there were between 30 and 40,000 Americans that converted to Islam because every mosque that I know of immediately had open houses. They were saying Islam is a misunderstood religion. This is very simply a part of their dawah and their attempt to try to shed a much more positive light on Islam.
There were focuses on reaching people in prisons.
Going through the prison system, they meet this man and they lead him to Islam, and now they go and meet his family. While the man is over there not knowing what's happening, now they are leading his family over there. They tell him, your husband is a Muslim now, everybody should follow. They start taking off the family and lead the family to Islam. Now they don't work the family, they start working the cousins, the uncles, the aunts, the nephews, the grandmothers, and the grandfather. They start inviting them to the house to come and listen about Dawah of Islam.
So they're working very hard with the Hispanics in America today. They're also working with the Native Americans, the Indians, and being somewhat successful in reaching, beginning to reach Native Americans. So you can drive through Gallup, New Mexico, which is considered the Indian capital of the world, and there on the main road is a large mosque. And I asked people, why do you have a mosque in Gallup, New Mexico? And they said, well, there's a few Muslims here. I said, but it's far larger than the few Muslims you have. Well, yes. But the reason is that they are building it with the expectation that once a mosque has been built, people will come, particularly as they continue to do their dawah and trying to bring people into their faith.
Even hospitals and things they have in the interfaith chapels where they have Islamic services going on there, reaching out.
We are seeing the systematic infiltration of our society from university campuses, from mosques, from our borders. And this is why we are very concerned about the borders, where people are coming to the society and infiltrating it on every level, including government offices, and they are taking government jobs. They have learned how to get into the culture.
Dawah must take place by all Muslims to go to knock on doors and seek people in high school, universities, and any other places.
They're actually raising up drug and alcohol centers to help these people get off drug and alcohol through Islam by teaching them about the Islamic faith.
They adapt to every atmosphere they go to. If it's an academic atmosphere, they bring academics to deal with it. If it's jails, they bring preachers who are fitted to jail atmosphere. If they are preaching to the general public, they bring people who blend with the general public in America.
They're not leaving any stones unturned. They are going after all of these different areas.
Saudi Arabia has been able to exploit a program called Title VI program that was founded by our government after World War II to influence minds in the United States and to educate American citizens about other cultures and have them learn languages of other cultures so they can be an asset to our country. About 16-20 years ago, Saudi Arabia, with the wealth of the oil, started exploiting that program and setting up Middle East study departments and political science departments and appointing Arab chairs who were pro-Palestinians, pro-Arabism, and anti-Americanism and anti-Semitism. So they started brainwashing our future generation, our American children, who go to the university to get an education, started teaching them false history based on those anti-American ideas and anti-American professors.
I came to this land, to America, for the purpose to cut her feet off from under her. How do you do this? You take her choicest people, her children. You teach them Islam, and you bring them in the ways of Islam, and you impact their students in universities and high schools, and you teach them the ways of Islam, and now these are the leaders. These are the future of this country.
6 years ago, Michigan, Detroit, 4th Street, they opened a high school. They brought a speaker from Washington, Muslim speaker. He says, now we have enough money, enough men, enough mobility to change this country to a Muslim country. And and we hope that Michigan will be the first Muslim populated country, state. And the best thing of it, we already started. So they came on a purpose. How they gonna do it? This is the question. don't think it's going to be peaceful way of process.
Every 5.5 days, according to statistic, a new mosque or Muslim center is opened in the United States of America. Today they have over 45 public schools, they have over 120 curriculums, and they have total over 400 schools throughout the United States of America, which teaches Islamic teaching, which is Islam is a religion of peace. Islam is a religion of love. It's just to change the culture of the United States of America.
I did all the promotional work for all these once-a-year meetings, and then of course the monthly meetings. I also did all the promotional work for that, so I was kind of their upfront spokesperson. I even did some radio spots at times. I wrote the copyright work, the work. We would reach out to the community, and it was a way of introducing the culture. We had cultural things. We'd even have like displays, or they would have the displays of the Arab culture, and even simple things like art and pottery and the clothes and the dress and the food. So it was a way of introducing the culture into the American culture in our city.
I was in Morocco one time, and I was speaking to a class of students, and they were learning English. And so I said, "Why are you learning English?" And they said, "We're learning English so that we can convert the West to Islam." They are training young people, primarily young people, many times business people, to come and to be those that are trying to further the Islamic faith.
The other thing I did for our community that I was encouraged to do through the mosque was I was in charge or on the board of the American Arab Women's Society, and we had once a year this incredible talent search for all the children, community-wise. And then Islam was brought in subtly there, because you would see the women in the covers and the different things like that, and then the children would do whatever talent or thing that they had. Of course, everything was viewed. You couldn't be in skimpy clothes, and it was all according to the Islamic dress code. But that was one of our ways to reach out in our city to the women and the children of the area.
They know exactly how to use our laws to their benefit, such as freedom of press, such as freedom of religion.
I've seen such an aggression towards evangelism. The Muslims evangelizing America strongly on college campuses.
The Muslim student unions are very active on every college campus. There's one almost on every college campus in the United States.
A lot of the marriages are taking place on the college campuses. These young guys are coming over here, meeting the girls. There you go, the Dawah through marriage.
There is a recruitment of the most radical Muslim students to come to United States campuses.
When America was invading Afghanistan, there were 3 American students that they were fighting with Al-Qaeda, that they were fighting with the Mujahideen against America. These were American students recruited right here in the United States of America in the name of Dawah.
In San Francisco, I heard chants by Muslim students who were chanting in Arabic on the streets of San Francisco. Khaybar Khaybar ya Yahud, Jaysh Muhammad Saifa Yaud. They were reminding the Jews the army of Muhammad is coming back again.
When Muslim student associations march in the streets reminding the Jews of Khaybar that they're going to kill them.
They can come and tell you that in our mosques we are allowed to teach that Jews are apes and pigs because they are cursed by Allah, because this is what our Qur'an says. How can you argue with that? We should have the freedom to educate our children in our religion.
We were just having a peace rally. Across the street were Arabs chanting. These young men were having the bands of the martyrs, the green bands with Islamic verses on them, chanting 2, 4, 6, 8, we are martyrs, we can't wait. Right here in California.
We have freedom of religion in our country. And this is how they are able to teach hatred in the name of religion.
Just to show where our loyalty belongs to. You see this flag here? It's gonna go on the floor. And to us, our loyalty does not belong to this flag. Our loyalty belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Takbir. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
They are bringing the ideology that I escaped from in the Middle East. The same hatred, the same anti-Semitism, the same victimhood.
So what we ended up with today is basically a generation that is brainwashed in our universities, brainwashed by our media elites, which basically are the graduates of those universities that now hold positions in the media, who are spewing and becoming the talking points and the talking heads on behalf of professors who were anti-America to begin with, anti-Jewish to begin with, and now they are influencing the opinion of the next generation coming up.
Today, the Muslims are trying to go into every level of government to impact that country.
The American congressman who put his hand on the Qur'an and not the Bible, he meant to send a message to both the Islamists, we're winning, and to the American people that we are here, and we are here to stay, and this is just the beginning.
When Westerners say, let's give concessions to Islam, let us allow them to even swear on the Qur'an instead of the Bible, they're Muslims. What they're doing is this: they're telling the Islamists that you're winning. The Qur'an has become a formidable and acceptable constitution to be sworn on in the West. Islam already is entering into the West. That's the message, the way they see things.
And what people do not realize in the United States and in Western countries is a Muslim can lay his hand on the Quran and lie, knowing that he is telling a lie, and knowing that he will be forgiven by this same Quran if he lies, because as long as he is advancing the cause of Islam, he is forgiven in the name of Islam.
Anytime when you have a senator or anyone in our government putting his hand and swearing on the Quran, he's making allegiance, his promises of Allah and for Quran, and it is not for that country.
I remember when Muhammad got his citizenship. He had his green card when we married, so I know he didn't marry for the green card. But when he got his citizenship, I remember asking him when we walked out, I said, what would you do if there was a war that broke out between Syria and the United States on American soil? Who would you fight for? And he told me Syria without a doubt, after he got his American citizenship.
A Muslim's loyalty when it comes to war will be only to Islam and not to a country. His duty is to Islam and not to his country nor to his family. It is solely for Islam.
When a Muslim is swearing on the Quran, what is he saying? Give us the right path, not the path of the ones who are cursed, the Jews, okay? وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, the ones who went astray, the Christians. The text doesn't use Jews and Christians, but when you look at Al-Jalalain or any Quranic interpretation you can find, you will see the interpretation of this verse is don't give us the constitution of the unrighteous, who are the lost ones, the Jews, and the went astray, the Christians.
In England today, in their parliament, the only people who can worship in the parliament are the Muslim. The Hindus, the Jews, the Christians, the Sikh, none of them can worship in the parliament. Only the Muslim can worship. They are changing this throughout. They're doing it in Canada. They're doing it even in the United States of America. Supreme Court trying to bring a Muslim judge to put him in power in the United States of America.
I'm worried about this element that calls itself moderate and is seeking policymakers to change our legislation and our government to ease up on the movement. That's the danger.
CARE is a group called Council of American Islamic Relations, and they consider themselves as a moderate Muslims. So many people say, what's the moderate Muslim are doing? Well, these people, the CARE group allowed the Muslim to be in government, in militaries, in many other places.
Council of American Islamic Relations started in America, born from an organization before it called the IAP, Islamic Association of Palestine. Islamic Association of Palestine was born by the Hamas movement in the Palestinian areas. The IAP, which gave birth to CARE, was a Hamas terror apparatus in America that was fundraising for the terrorists literally in America, using the Muslim community, using American money, donations here, to send to the recruitment of jihadists and the terrorists over there.
Many Muslim organizations, in the name of charity, are raising funds to funnel it to terrorist organizations, what we would consider terrorist organization, but they consider human rights organizations in the Middle East, such as Hamas, such as Al-Qaeda, such as Islamic Jihad, such as Hezbollah. They're raising the money here under the cover of a human rights organizations or charity organizations and sending it over to the Middle East or even to this country to commit terrorist operations.
Even the translators in our government are compromising what they're doing for the sake of Islam because they're working between the spies that they're captured and between the other Islamic areas.
They are using our laws because of their knowledge of our laws. They have attorneys who are educated in American schools and Western schools, who graduated from law schools in the West, who know the laws of the West and are able to find the loopholes to advance their cause against us to topple our society.
An apparatus calls itself, or a facade of Muslim moderates. When organizations like the American Muslim Council or the American Muslim Society will condemn terrorism verbally and in reality aid and abet the terrorist movement itself in all their speeches in the Arabic language.
But we in our multicultural society and our tolerance are allowing prejudice to exist and allowing those Muslims to use our own laws to push their own agenda in our societies.
When a Muslim reach about 10%, they control the economy of the country. When they reach 20%, they control the government.
Because the West took a back seat and refused to attack Hitler and silence him, Hitler's force grew so big that it dragged the superpowers of the world into war and cost the world 60 million lives. Hitler got into the churches, started brainwashing students, and started brainwashing them through universities and through churches, and started taking students and teaching them to hate Jews, started forbidding Jewish students from attending universities, and justified it in the churches as it is okay to forbid Jews.
This is the jihad, purpose jihad, to do the ethnic cleansing, physical ethnic cleansing in Europe against Jews and Christians. So now it's happening with the Jews, the next is going to happen with the Christians.
Well, when I was a kid, I asked one time, I was only 7, at school, when we were reciting jihadist poetries against Jews. And I once very innocently, I went to my teacher and said, why do we hate Jews? The teacher immediately, her face changed. She looked very angry at me, and she looked at me and she said, aren't you a good Muslim? I immediately felt ashamed just by asking the question. So shaming is a very strong aspect of the upbringing of Arab children.
Somehow in the name of Islam, they claim to have higher standards than the Christians. I've regularly heard, we are more Christian than the Christians. We are more Jewish than the Jews. And there's a tremendous pride in Islam. Oh, ye Muslims are the best of peoples, evolved for all of mankind. And the Muslims are very proud and are convinced that they are superior in every way.
22 Arab countries have worked so hard for many decades to make life impossible for Israel to exist.
This idea that somehow Jerusalem is the capital of the Palestinian people is a very recent political origin. And this was started by Yasser Arafat, who used this as a political motivation. It has no historical foundation, it has no historical basis whatsoever in Islamic history.
The Muslims cannot accept the fact that Jews who are considered najis, just like animal and feces, are living on Muslim land, which is in the Middle East, what they used to consider as Arab land.
On Fridays, every Arab and Muslim hear the Friday prayer. And I grew up with hearing cursing.
ونحن نقطعها والله لا نقطعها أيها اليهود.
Cursing of Jews, Christians, pagans, Europeans, Americans, infidels. Everybody who's not a Muslim is being cursed at the end of every Friday prayer in the Middle East.
The Muslims see the West very much as the great Satan, as pagan, degenerate, corrupt, wicked, evil.
Our jihad is against the great Satan and the small Satan. The greatest Satan is America. They are the head of the serpent. The small Satan is Israel.
Islam hates America because America is the largest Christian nation on earth. Islam hates America because America is the main sponsor of Christian missionary activity worldwide. Islam hates America because America is more successful than any Muslim country on the planet. And according to the Qur'an, that's not possible, and it shouldn't be. And according to Muhammad, Muslim nation should be the top. They should be the head, not the tail. And how is it possible that America is greater in terms of industry and inventions and technology and work ethic and the economy?
And I hated America. I was trained to hate America by that time because we believed that America is behind all the evil what the Jews are doing.
Today they're damaging and destroying churches and destroying synagogues on purpose to intimidate the enemies. The French government didn't do anything about it. The Jews are moving out of France and Germany and out of all those areas, even England. They're afraid that the Muslim gonna kill them sooner or later. These are jihad against the Muslim, against the Christian and Jew in Europe.
Some Belgian missionaries were having their heads chopped off in Morocco for proselytizing, winning Muslims to Christianity back in the 1980s. At the same time, Belgium, with taxpayers' money, was building mosques and Islamic propagation centers in Belgium for them.
Whether other people come to the United States of America to be part of the American culture, to learn and to have the freedom. The Muslims are coming here to bring Sharia law, to bring their own culture, to invade our world with their culturalism, Islamic culturalism, and understanding of way of living, and they will not abide in our laws.
Sharia law is the most brutal law on earth. It discriminates against non-Muslims, against women, it has cruel and unusual punishment, amputation of limbs, beheading, flogging, and stoning of women. Such laws are not compatible with the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States.
Under Sharia law, women do not have the right to own property. No Muslim may be under the authority of a non-Muslim, so no non-Muslim can own property, may inherit things, or have a position of authority in economics, business, in any area over a Muslim. That's Sharia law.
Sharia law, it goes in such depth, that if men and women still beaten up to death, stoned to death in a city center, or whipped to death sometime in a city center, or your hand cut off and seared with hot oil right there after they chop your hand off because you stole or because you committed something on one end or another. And it's happening also in Iran. And it's happening also, we hear, part of Indonesia and part of Philippines, where the Muslims are very strong in those areas.
Islam is Islam, whether you are in the Arab world or in America. The only difference is the American Constitution can protect people, can protect Muslims in America.
Muslims will not abide in this because they want to change the American law to their law specifically, where we must raise the fund and the finances to the Muslim cause.
And I've challenged Muslims saying, but don't you realize when you move to America or when you move to Britain, you're taking in your backpack the very seeds of the destruction of why you want to move to those countries, because the very religion of Islam that you take there to bring your children up in will one day destroy that country and deprive you of the same freedoms and opportunities and prosperity, which have led you to want to immigrate from this Muslim country to that once Christian nation.
Please understand, people aren't migrating to Muslim countries. The Muslims today are fleeing by the millions to Europe, to England, to America, to New Zealand, to Australia, to South Africa. They're trying to get away from Islam because they understand the enslavement that Islam brings upon women and a society.
When America was attacked in Pearl Harbor, the nation came together and said, we must act and we must act now. And we nuked Japan. You didn't hear about any innocent Japanese. You didn't hear Americans saying, well, what did we do to make Japan attack us? That idea never crossed the mind of any American. It was, we're going to act, and we're going to act now, and we're going to act decisively and strongly and crush our enemy. And this is what we need to do today.
How extraordinary that things have changed since Pearl Harbor to such an extent that we can have, over 60 years later, we can have now America falling over itself to embrace and support and protect the Islamic religion, which has inspired the terrorist bombings and the suicide bombers that have taken so many innocent American lives and embroiled America in such costly wars and activities. And yet somehow or another, there are those who want to divorce the religion that has inspired the suicide bombers of Islam, divorce the religion from the terrorism.
It is our duty to get educated, to be informed. So when we hear people like me and other experts saying we must act decisively and we must act now, people do not look at us and say, oh my God, they're so radical. How can they say that? We know so much. This is why we're saying that.
Democracy came out of the Protestant Reformation of the 16th century. And one of the things the Protestant Reformation brought was the understanding of the priesthood of the believer, that each man was now individually responsible before a holy God. No longer did we have to go through a centralized government control like the Catholic Church or some other authoritative structure. But one of the great things that the Protestant Reformation brought was the biblical understanding of the priesthood of the believers, that each man is individually responsible. This is what then brought about the whole concept of democracy, of one man, one vote, and that each person in a democracy is individually responsible.
In Saudi Arabia today, you don't see any churches, you don't see any synagogues. You know, the only people who lives over there must be a Muslim. You cannot even wear a cross. If you go to the airport, they rip the cross out of your neck and it's thrown in a fiery box where they melt all this stuff. Right there at the airport as you enter.
In all Arab countries, they are ruled by strong men or despots who rule as authoritative leaders. They lay down the rule because this was the rule of 7th century Arabian tribal life.
That every Arab dictator is afraid of the Islamists because they have no respect for the legitimacy of any government, and no Muslim government is Muslim enough for them.
Democracy only functions where you have a Protestant biblical worldview.
If moderate Islam could be successful, and if moderate Islam that has a place of acceptance of Christianity and accepts other faiths and says that other faiths can live together, then I think there would be some hope that Islam and Christianity could possibly live together. But I don't see that as being a very realistic possibility at this particular point.
Second and third generation in England.
Yeah, I'm British born, British bred. I'm willing to kill British soldiers simply because of the fact that they're engaging in a war that is against my brethren.
Of young men and women calling for Sharia law and calling for Ummah to live under that culture, and they're denying the English law. They're against the English law, and now they want the Muslim law. These are second and third generation. So it's not changing.
Appeasement is surrender on the installment plan. Appeasement is buying time until the day you die, because your enemy is going to kill you at the end anyway.
Their time will come like every other evil person's time will come.
The world tried to appease Hitler. The world gave Hitler Czechoslovakia. They thought, now he's happy, he'll stay away from us. It only bought Hitler time before he declared his wrath and his evil to spread not only all over Europe, but all over the world. because Hitler ended up dragging the whole world into war. And because the world turned a blind eye to evil in the beginning and appeased Hitler, the whole world had to pay the price and go to World War II.
Also available from Carol Productions, The New Barbarians, Training Children to Kill. Shocking, informative, eye-opening. It offers deeper insight into Islam's plan for world domination. To purchase this and other informative resources, visit caroltv.com.